You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
I'm Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. There she is. The Iron Lady sings it. When she sings it, you know we're live on the Chris Voss Show. Welcome to the Chris Voss Show, the family that loves you but doesn't judge you. Lisa as harshly as your mother-in-law, because we all know she doesn't like you anyway, ever. She never did. So maybe you had a chance for about 5 seconds, but no. Anyway, guys, we bring you the smartest people in the world to tell you about what they do, how to do it, and improve the quality of your life. The CEOs, the billionaires, the White House presidential advisors, governors, Congress members, U.S. ambassadors, astronauts, Pulitzer Prize winners, people who write some amazing books, tell amazing stories that can improve the quality of your life, because stories, ladies and gentlemen, are the owner's manual to life. I actually had to remember that for a second. So welcome, the elite crowd of people that listen to the Chris Voss Show and bask in the glow. Today we have an amazing young lady on the show, Dr. Tomi Mitchell. Let me recut that. I don't know what's going on today. Dr. Tomi Mitchell joins us on the show today. She is a board-certified family physician, author, and wellness productivity coach. And she has over 10 years of experience providing client-focused, community-based care. She's a parent, a wife, and an entrepreneur, and understands the challenges of balancing family and work demands, and has seen firsthand how many family life problems are rooted in mental wellness and mindset. She has a passion for mental health and strives to eliminate stigmas associated with mental health and stress, using family medicine principles to guide her holistic wellness practice. Welcome to the show, Tomi. How are you?
I'm doing great, Chris. How are you?
There you go. I'm good. Is it Tomi or Tommy?
I get both, but Tomi. I get both. It depends on where I am, who I'm with, I guess.
Is there one you prefer?
I respond to both.
There you go. All right. I respond to just any four-letter expletive that's thrown.
All right.
I figure it's coming in my direction.
Yeah.
I'll probably do it anyway. What's the title of your book that you have?
Yeah, it's coming out first quarter 2024. It's a long title. Mm-hmm. It's called The Soul-Sucking Energy Draining Life of Physician: How to Live a Life of Service Without Losing Oneself. So that was obviously it's soul-sucking, energy draining life of physician. Yeah. How to live a life of service. Oh yeah. Help people without losing yourself. True story.
The soul-sucking.
So I have to get it off my chest. So
wow.
Yeah, maybe next time I'll call it soul-sucking. It's a lot easier. It's a mouthful. No.
It sounds like there's a lot of buildup in that book.
There is. And it's, you know what, the one I have, the second one that's coming after that one is really the icing on the cake. This one's tame. I started this one a few years ago. You know how it is when you start a book, a process. Yeah. It's like a birthing process, like you're birthing an elephant, not a human, an elephant, like a 2-year gestation elephant. That was what I birthed.
one bite at a time. That's how I looked at a book, was one bite at a time.
Yeah, definitely.
Just like I'm going to slowly write for an hour a day, and then it turns into something. So now, is that on Amazon yet, where people can pre-order it?
I will have those details shortly. So depending on, so the best will be available for pre-order.
Best way for people to stay in touch with that is touch on your website and all that good stuff.
Yes, holisticwellnessstrategies.com.
There you go.
Be announced there.
So give us a 30,000 overview of what you do and how you do it there.
I help individuals really stop putting Band-Aids on their lives so they can live their best version of themselves. Because the fact is, I've been in this medical career for over a decade. We've been doing things so backwards. Healthcare is so screwed up. And I've seen it, with all due respect. I drank the Kool-Aid for a very long time. And then my own life experiences, and then finding amazing community who share similar values when it comes to healthcare, mental health, what really are the root causes of the challenges we have is life. I'm sorry. I'm a physician. I really am. But I feel like we've done mental health a disservice. And part of it is because we refuse to have those awkward conversations.
Mm-hmm. There you go. And so I guess a lot of external health problems, or I guess technically internal health problems, maybe come from our mental health.
Yes, most of our stuff is from the inside out, and most of our issues from the first 10 years of our lives.
Really? First 10
Yes, we
years?
spend 50, 60, 70 years getting over the first 10 years of our lives.
Wow. I'm glad
Mhm.
you're validating that for me. We have a lot of people on the show that talk about trauma,
Yeah.
childhood trauma, and you can see the effects over the course of their life, and you can see the patterns. You can see, all the wreckage behind you. And
Yes.
sometimes it takes people to their in their 50s to go, we should probably look into this mess that's going on.
All right. So why give up the best years of your life struggling when you could deal with it and get the help so you can have an amazing life?
We should all just get psychiatrists at 10.
Well, that's another story entirely. We won't go there. I don't know if that's the answer.
I can tell you love the healthcare system. So give us a little bit of your journey. How did you get into being a doctor, want to get into this field, et cetera, et cetera?
I, like many of us, wanted to help people, like literally. And and then also, I think my father is a physician. So I was brainwashed as a child, right? To be a doctor, be an engineer, to be a lawyer. I had to pick one in order to be, part of the family. So I picked medicine. And I actually, truly, genuinely love it. I picked family medicine, the least glamorous out of all the areas of medicine. That is what I chose to be by choice. Yes, I did that to myself.
You said you were brainwashed first, so which?
Well, yeah, you have to be. You have to be a little crazy to do this do this work.
at least the work with the insurance companies. I hear that's a nightmare for doctors.
Oh, it can be.
Yeah. And then the patients probably are.
It's a disaster. It's a disaster on so many levels.
You could be, I don't know, working construction. I don't know. There you
go. Speaking of construction, I actually used a tool this morning. It was called a hammer. I hung that picture up there. Quite proud of myself. So it's straight, hopefully.
There you go. Well, maybe there's a burgeoning career there.
I know. I can
you might like more. You might like more of this. There's no insurance. There is insurance in construction, so it might be up. So what you do a number of things there at your, I guess, clinic that you have. Where are you located at?
I'm actually by the beautiful Rocky Mountains. Physically, I'm in Canada right now, though my life has taken me in the US, England, all over the world. So I'm in Canada for my medical practice. However, my coaching practice is global, with most of my clientele within North America.
Okay, cool.
But then my reach with my business, my podcast, is further. It's international. So
there you go. And what's the name of the podcast?
The Mental Health and Wellness Show.
The Mental Health and Wellness Show.
Yes.
Which is the opposite of ours, called the Unmental and Unhealthy Show.
Hey, opposites attract, at least initially.
They do. Good. Very good. So you do coaching, speaking, employee wellness, online courses,
and
events.
Primary care. So I blend them together so that I have patients who are truly, I'm their family doctor. I look after their kids, their grandpas, everything. But then I have people who come to me because they realize that life is not working out, whether it's showing up in their relationships, showing up in the work. That's usually where people first come to terms with that there's an issue. It's usually when it hits work, not so much the relationship piece. It's when it hits work, their pockets. Then they listen up and be like, okay, I need some help.
There you go. So what is burnout? And you talk about burnout and help people burn out. Is that a sign that it's time that they have an issue and they need to address it?
It definitely is. Like WHO describes burnout as this constant stress that's unmitigated and it's solely related to work. I beg to differ slightly. Burnout, yes, it's continuous stress, but you can't put life in just little boxes because our personal life impacts our work. You can't separate the two because it's the same you going from your bed to the car or to your desk at work to the work. It's the same mindset. It's the same way of doing life and seeing life. So that's why I look at it holistically. Holistic wellness strategy. So often we look at things in silos, and that's where the problem is. You have to look at the full system. Right?
So you can't just take a pill, 2 pills, and call me in the morning, sort of thing.
Exactly. You have to look at what else is going on, whether it's your emotional health, physical, financial, spiritual, intellectual. All of those things need to be looked at.
There you go. So you need to be the full circumference of a human being as opposed to whatever. I fixed some of this just by creating multiple personalities, and then I don't have to deal with the same person all the time.
Oh, there you go. You could have Monday.
Yeah,
Wednesday.
Monday's Bob, and Tuesday's Doug, and Thursday's the guy who says kill, kill, kill. The judge says I can't listen to anymore. So there you go.
Hey, if it
It's a
works,
hell of a
happy,
callback.
everyone around you happy. Hey,
Yeah, there you go. As long as I stay away from that one, everyone's happy, and I stay to jail. I'll get the ankle bracelet off next month. I'm sure it'll all work out in court. As a wellness coach, what are some of the common challenges you observe among individuals struggling with burnout? Like, what are some of the signs? Like, if I'm out there in the audience going, I wonder if I'm burnt out yet as their world is flaming around them. What are some of the signs, and how do you address them?
Yeah, like you just don't give a rat's tail no more. Like just not giving anymore. That's a sign. It's
just
real
like
thing.
Fuck it, I don't care.
Exactly. Thank you.
Wow.
Break the ice.
That's Fridays around here.
Right?
And so how do you address them? How do you go, okay, well, we have some burnout now. What do we do?
I keep it really simple. Okay. I have this, I'm not a huge math fan, but I have a very basic equation. If your energy outputs is greater than your energy inputs, there's a situation. So we balance it. We see, okay, what's going in your life? Input, like the happy moments, the going to vacations, the self-development, the relaxation, whatever it is, crocheting, whatever your thing is, and the outputs, those soul-sucking energy vampires. And I allude to them in my book, more so in my second one, but those things that are sometimes very obvious, and the things that may not be so obvious. And the not so obvious is what really drains our batteries the most. That's playing in our background, and it's usually replaying our thoughts, identity, or beliefs that were created from the time little Johnny was a little boy in Wichita, wherever little Johnny grew up, or Susie. And that's what's draining us. But most people just look at the obvious. They think, oh, my boss is my partner is got bills, but they're not looking at what's really going in the background.
And so they need to look at it and address it and say, hey, how you need to help this. What are some practical strategies for maintaining a healthy work-life balance, especially in demanding professions like healthcare?
Yeah, so you really have to know when to say no. No can be a complete sentence. No, thank you. Thank you for thinking about me, but no.
There you go.
Right? That's really hard for a lot of people because they're used to saying yes. They're people pleasers because that was how they were programmed. That's how their childhood was. They thought they had to please people to get attention, and that carried them. Right? Or they feel like they'd be less of a person if they say, I'm sorry, I appreciate you thinking of me, but in order for me to maintain the quality of work I like to give, I have to pick between project A and project B. What would you rather it be? Right? Boundaries. Creating time for yourself. And that is really important, especially for those who are self-employed. We have a lot of flexibility that someone who works at a regular 9 to 5 has. We can largely pick our hours. So we can create times for those self-charging activities, whether it's a sport, a hobby, whether it's dancing. I love to dance, whether it's writing, journaling, picking up the phone and talking to your aunt from a different time zone across the country, right?
What if I don't have an aunt who's across the country? I'm just kidding. You talk about how mental fitness and resilience can be cultivated to cope with the pressures and challenges of a professional life. How do we know if we have any mental fitness? Mine's just fat, lazy on the couch.
Mental fitness is amazing. You could be physically fit and not be mentally fit and vice versa. Mental fitness is ability to see a challenge and quickly find an opportunity. How many individuals went through, the past few years, same situation. Some were like, woo, recharged, like, let's do something. Let's create something. How many businesses were birthed in the past few years?
A lot, yeah.
A lot.
Books too.
Books.
A lot
right?
of books.
Mine was birthed. I had a long gestational period, but it was conceived.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It was probably the best period for book writing ever in history.
There was a boom. Yeah. Never, like in modern history, there hasn't been a period like this. Right?
That's definitely true.
But seeing a challenge and finding opportunity, realizing that, you know what, maybe being dependent on that situation isn't serving me. Maybe I'm not fully utilizing my skills. And that was one of my moments. I was like, I don't feel I'm being authentic to myself. I know I'm not. I remember going to Oprah years ago. Yeah, I went to an Oprah show years ago, and she's talking about the authentic self. And I'm like, I'm not being authentic to my true self. I have way more skills than what I'm using in this box that I was in. And having the courage and the faith and the work ethic and be able to stick to it and actually work towards achieving a new reality for your life. That's very important.
There you go. You mentioned the word boundaries earlier too.
Yes.
Boundaries are a real important thing that I find a lot of people don't employ or even know what they are these days. And boundaries on top of saying no seems like a really good way of keeping things in line. I don't know.
Boundaries are critical. Like in my profession as physician, the first thing's like, sure, I can see that the patient. Sure, I can do that. Sure, I can do that. Sure, I can do that. But then where do you sleep? Where do you rest? Where do you have time for yourself? You are human too. You are first a human, and the people that need you the most are the ones that will be thinking about you after my thoughts and prayers are with you or spoken, because they have moved on.
Yeah. The boundaries are something that can really help, especially if you have toxic people in your life, and people that are emotional vampires.
Yes.
And trying to keep sometimes those folks in line as well.
100%. I call them like they're soul sucking, right? They're emotional vampires.
It's the title of your book.
Oh, it's in there. Trust me, it's there. That's why it took so long to write and got to get rid of my own vampires, in a nice way, of course.
There you go. Hopefully, I mean, we'll check your backyard with scanners.
I know, right?
Buried back there. So, what are some common misperceptions about burnout and wellness, and how can we dispel those myths?
A common misconception is if you love something, you shouldn't ever be burnt out. You can love something and be burnt out.
What about someone?
The same thing. You could love somebody and be exhausted, and they could still be good for you. You just haven't taken the time to create those boundaries, reinvest some time in them, have a fresh perspective on the relationship. And clearly, there definitely can be situations where that person was for a season, not for a lifetime. Okay? That was for a season. Sometimes we try to put people who are seasons for a lifetime, or maybe they're just for a moment, not for. We're changing. If you're growing on this continuum of life, and the people around you are not taking the time to grow and invest in themselves, you will eventually not see eye to eye.
Yeah.
And so many times we say, oh, that's my childhood buddy, or this is this person, but they're not growing. They're not moving forward. So they're moving backwards, and they're holding you back because of their limited beliefs, their paradigms. They haven't taken the time to mature. And let's face it, if you all started off, let's say, like many of us started off at the bottom, worked your way up. If all your friends were still scrumming for a couple of bucks, it's going to be hard to be like, hey, let's go hang out. Maybe we should go meet up in Malibu this weekend, or let's go jet to London. There's a really good show going on. You're not going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
That's I know it may seem like an odd example, but that's what happens. You change too much that you're so different that your inner circle has to change. It doesn't mean that you can't maintain a relationship with them. It's just the type of relationship may have to change. And the fact is, it's probably changing already, but you just haven't come to terms with it.
Yeah, that's true. Life. You can outgrow people. I don't know. It's interesting to me, the dynamic that people in relationships have. Like some people, one outgrows the other. I've seen that with my business partner, where I grew into something completely different. He stayed just a stick in the mud, cowboy, shit kicker.
Right. And that doesn't serve you. That doesn't help. Yeah. It's going to be friction, and it's going to hold you back.
Yeah. Didn't help in the end. And then some people you see, they just weirdly grow together in some sort of weird thing. Like you ever meet a couple and they're just fucking weird, but they're both weird together.
They're both weird. They both have the same haircuts. Yeah. Like they both complete each other's sentences. Yeah. It's beautiful, harmonious.
But sometimes they're just weird together. Like you look at them and you go, I see why you two are together, because you're the same and you're fucking weird, and no one else on the planet would want to be with either of you because you're crazy.
I love it. There are people like that. And you know what? Yep. but they're not your people.
They're not
Right?
my weird.
They're
I
not
have a
your
different kind of
weird. You
weird.
just be like, okay, what's
think
up?
that's-
Hi. Keep
I think
on
it's what
going.
you have to do in dating and finding your people. You just have to find your weird.
You have to know yourself. And you have to know what you want. You need to know what it should look like, feel like, taste like all your senses. You should really get that clear.
Here, I'm going to see what it tastes like.
Yeah?
It
Salty?
tastes like I probably should have showered this week.
There you go.
But you did mention that, you see somewhere in there, you said about taking care of yourself or developing yourself.
Yeah.
I know one thing that's some people feel in relationships where they try and grow together and be as one. And I think it's really unhealthy, where really you should try and make the best version of yourself and complement each other. What do you think about that?
I agree. And it should be two whole people coming as one. And yeah, you might have a strength and that person might not, and work together towards some common goals, right? There has to be similarities where you're working towards a similar goal. Otherwise, it's like going right and left. If your goal is towards honesty and integrity, and the other person is like,
Yeah, so values too. Or
values. Oh, I love that word. So that's a classic. I love that word, values.
Yeah. So your values are aligned, because if they're not aligned, then you're not. Yeah, and so these are really important things. And you're right. If people aren't happy at work, there's usually stuff going on at home. I've seen that as a CEO over the years, where if I've got employees that are struggling, you've got to sit down with them and go, what's going on? And usually it's something at home.
It usually is. Same here. I've had over 100 employees over the years, and it's something at home. They were once this nice person to deal with. Now it's like this different animal.
Yeah.
And it's your fault. Everything's your fault. And you're like, okay, I did that. What is it?
And my issue is I usually have to solve the problem so they can start selling again. So I got to play psychologist and go wander through their head and figure it out. And why doesn't their wife love them? And why is their marriage working? And all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, why is this my problem? I don't get paid for this. Exactly. I really should have started a psychiatry business on the side in most of my companies.
Oh, there you go. Maybe next career.
CEO and psychiatrist. Just lay on the couch. Tell me why your mom didn't hug you enough. Now go sell some shit, damn it. Make your quota. So there you go. When you talk to people, it looks like what you do also on your website is you work with corporations and organizations to talk about burnout. Tell us what sort of services and things you do there.
Yeah. So I've had the pleasure of, partnering with other businesses where we've got into like whether Fortune 500 companies or smaller mom and pop businesses where we listen. What's going on? Right? That's the first thing you gotta do. You gotta listen. And then take that information and then process it and then ask questions. And usually the common denominator, there's a few common denominators. One, burnout has 3 layers, okay? There's the personal stuff, okay? The individual, the employer. They have their own stuff that come from home, life, whatever. Then there's the teams. Like maybe this person is not a good manager for this group of individuals, right? And then there's the system in which they're placed in. So in order to truly deal with burnout holistically, you have to look at all the 3 layers, because it's a disservice to tell your employees, go exercise, do mindfulness training, here's yoga, go do this. When you're giving unrealistic expectations at work with crazy deadlines and not giving the resources and sometimes not giving the respect they need to do the job, right? You're telling them to fish with no fishing tools. You're like, go get it. And they're like, what?
And burnout's probably really big for organizations and people these days. You've probably seen an increase of it with COVID. And
massive increase.
Remote working and
massive
crises and, just all the crazy things that are going on.
There's a lot of crazy right now.
Yeah, running out of eggs. That was a big deal there for a while.
Yep.
Yeah. And so burnout's probably big for organizations right now. And
it's huge. And you know what? Organizations, they care about a lot of things. And let's face it, a business has to make money and it affects their bottom line. If a third of their most efficient, productive employees are on short-term disability or long-term disability or underperforming, that impacts them significantly, because let's face it, in most businesses, it's 20% that do 80% of the work.
Yeah.
That's the truth. You do not want your golden eggs to stop popping out those golden eggs.
Yeah, Yeah, you want those golden eggs popping
You
out.
need those golden eggs, because if they stop and they're like, screw this, I'm going to start my own business. Good luck.
There you go. It's an interesting world that we live in right now, and I think probably, as we've talked about, people are experiencing burnout
Yes.
more than more. Any success stories you want to share out, maybe of clients you work with, or helping people overcome burnout, improving their overall well-being?
Yeah, there's been so many success stories because, frankly, if you do the work, you're consistent, and you're honest with yourself, and you will get results. So I've seen success stories where the best stories are the ripple effects. And that puts a smile on my face, where it's not just that individual that is healthier, happier, more productive, a nicer human being to be around. Their community benefits, their workplace benefits, their home benefits. And then sometimes you see them like find themselves again, that joy, that spark. That's like, to me, that's everything.
Yeah.
That ripple effect. It's not just about the person in front of me, it's the people that they're connected to. And when I see downstream the blessings, I am beyond thankful. Now, the individual who gets better and keeps it to themselves, that's great. But what I want to do is amplify these blessings, these changes, because it's not just about that person, it's about the people that they're connected to, because we are a global community. So if I get to do that, if I get to push that domino just right, and they influence people who are making decisions that impact us as a society, and that has happened. I can't share the details, just being vague, but that brings joy to my life. Because again, being on this journey is not something that I knew I was going to be on before. The doctor piece I knew, but the talking, speaking, keynote, writing, that was birthed out of situation in life and being like, if I'm going to go through something, what do I have to do to make my experiences so much worth it? Like, what do I need to do to make that painful situation something that's no longer painful? So I think that's the answer for a lot of us who are on this journey. And those of us who birthed businesses or really took that leap to make it more formal during the past 3 years, we'll just call them the past 3 years. I think there has to be a connection to what you're doing, because when you have a passion and purpose, it brings happiness.
Definitely. You talk about using time management as a way to manage your stress.
100%. There's a saying we all know, time is money, but I also add time management is money well spent. Every hour, you only have 24 hours in a day at best, right? And we might get to start it, but there's no guarantee we'll get to finish it. So how are we going to make each time matter? As CEOs, we want to be working on top of our businesses. I got in the trap before when I was burnt out of doing a lot of the nitty-gritty stuff that I didn't need to do. I did not need to go to the store to get coffee. I didn't need to do that, but I was doing it, I don't know why, but, just being mindful, like, what things do you need to do that will make the biggest impact, not just for today, but for tomorrow? And oftentimes they're the most uncomfortable things, but we have to do them. We have to be like, okay, this needs to be done. Otherwise, there's going to be a big problem. The other thing that I really find helpful with time management is delegating. I have assistants that work for me that take a lot of things off my plate, so I can do the things that only I can do.
And that's important for time management.
It is so important. And then being healthy, and it starts with the mind. My mind is sharp. I'm able to see a challenge and quickly find possible solutions and work through them. Right. And having that catalog of information stored in my brain where I can access it when I need to.
There you go. So, and you talk about that, the power of self-care. So nurturing your mind, body, and soul.
Yeah, success is a mind game. I'm yet to meet a successful person who doesn't have it, at least largely here.
Yeah. I don't have it there. So that's clearly what my
You're
problem
just too modest. You would have lasted this long. You know that. Most
that's true. That's true.
Cuts out after 2 years?
Yeah, most podcasts fail actually after 7 episodes.
Yeah.
80%.
You're at what, 30? How many years?
We're almost in 2000.
Okay.
Yeah, 16 years. So yeah, most podcasts fail at episode 7, and 80%, and then the 20%, another 80% fail by episode 20. It's insane.
There you go. I'm at over 100 myself. So
there you go. Congratulations. You're at the winner's scale. You actually are. You really are. It's funny.
On the back. Good
it's
job.
Funny. There's so many people that are like, I'm going to be a podcaster. I'm like, stop it. And
I never would have thought that.
Yeah. They'll tell me, I have an idea for a podcast, and I'll be like, what is it? And they tell me, and I go, that's an episode. That's not a podcast. It's like you got 30 minutes of material there. Like that's
exactly.
Good luck building that into years. But final thoughts as we go out. How can people onboard with you, reach out to you, utilize your services, get to know you better, et cetera, et cetera?
For sure. Holisticwellnessstrategies.com. Holistic with an H. Wellness strategies. So there's 3 S's there.com. And you will find me. There's a link on my page where you can book a talk with me. The first, half an hour is on me. And after that, we can talk business.
There you go. Tomi, it's been wonderful to have you on the show. Thank you very much for coming on.
My pleasure.
There you go. And thanks so much for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss. Chris Voss, one on the Tickety Talkety, and the big LinkedIn newsletter in the 130,000 group over there as well. Thanks for tuning in. Be good to each other. Stay safe. And we'll see you guys next time.